Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Gatekeepers, what is happening? Boy, did I miss you guys. I'll tell you what, just 2 weeks off. That's what it's been. It was one weekend off, but it's really feels like 2 weeks because it was. How y'all doing? I miss you. I have lots of stories to tell you. Gettysburg was a blast. Waynesboro, Hoover House, as per usual, wonderful. And I missed each and every one of you. There were storms and bad Wi-Fi and, internet stuff like that. So I couldn't get anything out. But tomorrow night, so many things have happened with good friends like Steve Stockton, who went off and got himself hitched and has been on honeymoon. I bumped into a lot of our wonderful people in Gettysburg. It was fantastic. And I'll tell you all about that tomorrow night when we have in Mr. Steve Stockton. Or is it Mrs. now? I can't tell. I'm joking. Hopefully, he's raring to go. I don't want to take him away from the wonderful time he's been having out there and moving and everything else. But I hope everything sets for tomorrow night. We also have Brian Bowden, who was lovely to spend days out there in Gettysburg, and we have wonderful tales. We went on the battlefield and we did some other really cool things, saw some great stuff, felt a lot of different things. So we'll tell you about that tomorrow night. Eric from Unseen Paranormal, also the wonderful, just to see everybody out there. It's just, I could go on for hours, which I will not do, because one of our other fantastic friends that I've met throughout the years. Now, I'll tell you what, that has been the best part about doing a podcast. The authors I get to meet, the other paranormal investigators, the mediums, the psychics, the intuitives, the empaths, the people, the tarot readers, the ghost rescuers, so much psychic crime scene investigation. It's just amazing, one spectrum to the next. This is a vast and wonderful subject. And one of the wonderful things that I've got to do over the years is meet these wonderful people and become friends with so many. And tonight we have one of my absolute favorites on. This young man, I'll tell you. And I say that because he's got such an old soul, but gosh, he has the enthusiasm and the energy of a teenager. I'm telling you. I think that's why he connects so well with the animals. I think that's why so many of those angelic and enlightened beings, which I absolutely consider animals to be, right there in that realm, in that vibration, why it's so easily a connection for them, between them and our guest tonight. So welcome in, gatekeepers. Welcome in, wonderful mods. And we are going to have questions tonight. If mods would help out by encouraging capital letters so I can see them and not missing them. Please don't be shy in repeating those mods if it's a good one and I missed it. And I'm not just waiting for the conversation flow to get it in there. I'll put them up, and Rob's great at answering questions and he never gets knocked off the track. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best souls that I've got a chance to meet in my time in this wonderful subject, Mr. Rob Gutro. Welcome in. Hello, hey, my friend.
Hi, Cisco. How are you?
I'm just wonderful. All my friends are just interjected with these new energies and new adventures and moving cross state and settling in new towns and meeting new friends. And the energy seems to be bombastic in a good, positive way. Are you seeing that too, Rob? It seems like everybody is grasping at new endeavors and adventures. It's very cool.
Yeah, and the energy has changed, and it's all for the good.
Yay, yay. Here,
Yeah,
here. I'll drink to that, my rose mint tea. How have you been?
good. I'm going to drink to that too with a nice big
Absolutely.
cup of coffee.
Nice big napkin. You know, never enough caffeine, my friend. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So, I mean, that's my favorite thing in the morning, getting up and having that first cup of coffee. Gosh,
Uh,
it's just
well,
habits.
I drink it all day long, and that's how I stay energetic.
There you go. See,
Um,
and I thought it was your young soul. You're in a wisdom, wrapped in wisdom, with all these lifetimes we must have spent. I don't know. It's an amazing subject, and it's an amazing thing, Rob, to go decades upon decades of digging and
mhm.
searching and wonderment, and we know very little more. But I think what has gotten bigger, is if we don't have definitive answers and all the questions that we had, which we just don't. We have theories and we have thoughts and guesses and hopes, but what we do know for sure is that you just never get tired of all of the wonderful miracles and these little synchronicities and coincidences, paranormal coincidences. That
Mhm.
song that comes on the radio, the butterfly, the bird, the jingle of the collar down the hallway, when you just, wait a minute, did I hear that? Yes, you did. All the little things. You're just full of those wonderful stories, and I just never get tired of hearing them. Do you?
No, absolutely not. And I found out today that some good friends of mine lost their dog.
Oh,
They had to say goodbye to their sweet dog.
so hard.
Um, so I had we my husband Tom and I met them over lunch, and they were of course very devastated because this sweet little Yorkie named Polly was their heart dog, their very close, their
Mm.
closest dog. Um,
Family.
so they were having a hard time with that. Um, and I it's always hard when it first happens because really these are our children as we talk about, and the emptiness that is there that we feel, the physical emptiness is the hardest thing. Even though
Yeah.
we know they're around in spirit, it's still hard. And um,
Even when you and I have said that many times through messages or whatever, even when you absolutely definitively, without a doubt in your mind, know that they're not in the grave, they're not at the graveyard. I have a theory that, of course, they show up the grave because you're there, you're talking to them, and you're connected to them. So of course they're going to show up there. You're talking about them, and they're
mhm,
on your mind, and
yeah,
that's why they show up there. But they're not stuck there, and neither are our pets. And Rob will tell you that, just like I will. Even though we know this, we still go through the. If you don't think that Dickens McGee has the most pimped out grave, he's got eternal solar candles. He's got, I joke because JFK has an eternal flame, and I go, well, Dickens has two. JFK has one, Dickens has two. But it's just, it's extra energy that you put out there, that
mhm,
wow, you zap it out there into the universe. They feel that, they connect into, they smile with you, they
yeah,
smile with you, and they feel sad when we're sad. That's why I think it's important to, if you are going to feel sad. Rob was one of the first people to tell me, push through that sadness, feel that sadness, go
mhm.
ahead and be one with that, and then ride it out, but end it in a laughter, end it in a joke, end it in a happy memory,
Happy
because it
memories are
helps
the most
both.
important.
It helps both
Yep,
you and
absolutely.
the pet, as well as your spirits in your human spirit loved ones too. But it does work with animals, doesn't it, Rob?
It does. And it's something interesting you mentioned there about cemeteries, visiting cemeteries, and so forth. Um, so that's something that I like to talk about with people, because people will say, around Halloween, everybody says cemeteries are haunted, and my experience is that they're not haunted at all, because living people choose to stay in a place they're familiar with. Same
Mhm.
thing with pets. But like you said, when you come to a cemetery and you are there to pay tribute to somebody, and you show them love, they will show up.
Yeah.
they will show up there. So people need to understand that they don't need to be concerned that somebody is stuck earthbound haunting a cemetery, because nobody ever does that.
Mhm.
But loved ones will come back and let you know that they're acknowledging your love and returning it. So,
Mhm.
um,
Absolutely. I think that we also draw in more than we realize. People just don't realize that. So if you're going to a graveyard to turn something up, of course, there's going to be a lot of earthbound spirits that are more in the, the lower vibrational, vibrating, whatever. And they're the ones bored and hanging out and coming into this. Oh, they want to be scared. Okay. Because they
mhm,
feed on that. But the loved ones, the spirits, and again, Rob has said this in multiple interviews, podcasts, and in several of your books, I believe, that the negative ones want human too, just lower vibrational. We're not talking anything, wide spectrum here.
yeah,
They feed on fear, and you're like, when they jump out at you and things like that. But our loved ones in spirit, they get their energy from the love and the good memories and the laughter and the jokes. We just had a thing at Hoover House, and I know Rob is very familiar with the Hoover House. He's given all kinds of talks there and met everybody. And it's just, we hate that you're moving away, but we're glad that you're happy and doing things. We know we'll see you there again. But that's a big thing there with that positive light. That's why so many good things come through, and so many people get messages from loved ones so quickly without a lot of hesitation, because they're feeding on that love light and that energy. Wouldn't you agree?
mhm,
You've experienced that with the table tipping and the whole. It's like
absolutely.
Grand Central Station. They just come in next. It's wild, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. So I'm glad that you brought up the Hoover House, because I had some pretty amazing adventures when I was there back in May.
Yeah.
Um, and I would like to share those with you
Sure.
if you'd like.
Absolutely.
And I must say that I was so crushed that you weren't able to be there that
Oh
day.
gosh, I didn't want
But
to
I
get
understood.
everybody sick. Oh gosh, what a
Yeah, I
time we're
understood.
going through where everybody's just trying to be. You want to go so bad, but you love the people so much that I'm not going to take a chance. I'm going to sacrifice to not, because that isn't, we're supposed to be that way. If we were,
Yeah.
but oh, I missed so much. I really did. But I found in this universe, things happen when they're supposed to happen. So there's something bigger and more
True.
amazing in the future coming for us, Rob. That's for sure. But I did miss being there. But go ahead, tell us about that.
Yeah. Well,
This
I
is
just so
crazy.
after all these years of talking with you, Cisco, I just wanted to give you a big hug, and I and I was like,
Okay.
I felt so
Oh,
cheated.
I know. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. So big hug now.
But it's
Big hug
yeah,
now.
okay.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again.
All right, so I'll share one of my stories. I've got a couple of stories for you from Hoover House if you'd like.
Hmm.
So we can talk about pets and we can talk about
Oh,
hauntings
all
and
of
table
it. Yeah.
tipping, and yeah, so
However it
have
takes
a
you.
variety is the spice of life, right?
Absolutely.
So for the for any folks that may not know what Hoover House is, because I didn't know a couple of years ago, but um, it's it's located in the historic district of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, and it's about 22 miles from Gettysburg, and 29 miles from Antietam, the other battlefield. So of course it's surrounded by all this crazy energy. Um,
It is. It
it
is.
was yeah, and I can't go to either place, by the way. I can't
Uh-huh.
go to I can't go to them because it's too overwhelming.
Gettysburg and Antietam.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and Harper's Ferry as well. There's a
Hmm.
triangle. There's a triangle there, and although the energy is absolutely amazing, Rob's right. When you walk in, it's like an automatic thump and you're pushing through and you're pushing through, and there's just so much coming at you. And keep in mind, Rob will go to the UK and walk through all of these old castles and everything else, but this battlefield, you're right. I mean, but all of them, there's it's overwhelming, and it's the whole town, Rob. It's not just the fields, as we
Oh yeah,
know.
not just the field, no,
Yeah.
because the troops move through everywhere, and all that residual energy of anxiety and fear and anger and all that stuff just soaked into the ground.
Mm,
So
mm.
Yeah.
And the trees and the witness trees that are still there. A lot of people think just
Mhm.
the big trees, that the big trees are there too, but and I'm no, a tree expert for sure, but there are trees that grow very big in a very short amount of time and then die off and have a low lifespan. They weren't couldn't possibly have been there even though they were large during the battle, but there are quite a few witness trees, and I'll tell you, the dead and dying around these trees, it's so overwhelming when you walk up on one of these things. They remember, um, it is, the rocks, the buildings, the whole area, Rob. And I think
So,
right on through to Waynesboro and out in the outskirts, all around there, Carroll Valley, Cashtown, Tannytown, all of them, they reverberate the same.
mhm.
Um, so much energy slammed in just a couple of days out into the universe like that.
So if anybody's sensitive and has an interest in the paranormal, those are definitely areas to go and explore and see what you feel, and then write it down, and then try to look up historically what may have happened in that particular area. Um, but the Hoover House was really an amazing experience. So I found out that it's a former assisted living home that they turned into a beautiful bed and breakfast, and it's really a cool place to stay and relax, and the food is really good. And the hosts are really great. um, and it
They
is
are indeed
haunted.
the berries. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, oh
it
yes.
is haunted. Um, so I do have to tell you that I can't stay in haunted places because the ghosts keep me up.
Mm.
Have you stayed overnight in haunted places, Cisco?
In haunted places, yes. In the Hoover House, I have not stayed overnight there yet. Usually, when I go, it's during the Bash, which is a very busy time for them, and the Hoover and the Bash. Things are doing all at the same time. So we stayed down at the Days Inn, just down the two houses down.
Yes.
Just but the whole town. I love the feel of the town. The whole, it seems like almost it's not in this, it is almost in the center of that triangle of those battles, and it's certainly surrounded. I mean,
Yeah.
they have battles all around there, Rob, going back to my people, to the Delaware, right
Yeah.
there by a bridge. Jim and Dave Haney of
Mhm.
a Keystone State Paranormal could take you there and tell you all about that battle. But and I was like amazed because it's Delaware. Well, by then, I guess by the time we got pushed all the way to the other end of Pennsylvania, we were probably a little pissy by then. And who would blame them? Who would blame them at that point? So,
Absolutely
but
not.
it's not just the Civil War battles and everything else. It's all the history of everything
Yeah,
around that area, and you can feel it's palpable, is it not?
it
So
is,
you
and
didn't you didn't stay there. But you did spend quite a couple of days there, did you not?
I actually drove up and drove back. Yeah, it was like a 2.5 hour drive each way,
Oh, okay.
but it was good.
Yeah.
So so one of the things that I wanted to tell you tonight about my one of my experiences in Hoover House ties into the pets that we were talking about.
Okay.
So this was pretty cool. During my lecture, I wound up comforting one woman that said that she had many rescue dogs in her house, and um, tragically, someone that she knew with mental illness burned her house down, and all the dogs had passed. And she had come there, and she didn't tell me this when she was there until afterward. But she, for decades, she had blamed herself. But as I was standing there, um, many dogs came through to me, and they were all for her, and I didn't know what was going on, and that's what it turned out to be. Um, she
Wow.
had blamed herself for this,
Wow.
and the dogs all came through, and they were just overwhelming me with love and thanks for her rescue efforts. And she said that they kept telling me to tell her that it wasn't her fault. It was actually their time to pass. And no matter what happened, it would have happened one way or the other. But their they were now, after they passed, they were acting as her guardians in spirit, and that's what I told her. So when she said to me, she totally understood that, because she said there were several times in her life when she was actually saved, and she couldn't understand how her life was saved. And I told her, I said it was those, all of those dogs in spirit that acted as your guardian, and they kept you safe. And she
Wow.
totally got that. And
Yep.
that was her reason to be there that particular day. And that's how it works.
That's how it works, folks. And it's so funny at Hoover. What Rob and I were trying to explain in the beginning was, it's the spirit guides there are connected with other living people there, however connected they may be, and that may not be, that could be people living there and people not living there, just connected to the energy there that come back and frequent. Okay, so they filter out and help this path, much like gatekeepers, much like guides on this journey, and bring through people that wait, because they know living loved ones are coming and thinking about coming through for whatever reason, and they're going to, hesitate to use the word manipulate, but in some cases manipulate or help along or
Hmm.
influence, to
Influence.
try to try to get people to show up there. And they're
Hmm.
there, they have no idea that, they think it's just all by happenstance. And here's the spirits have been waiting for them for like a week or whatever, a grandmom or somebody like that. And it's so amazing that there are places like that. Uh, I'm pleased to know of one of them. I'm sure there's more. We could use millions like
Hmm.
that bringing people to the light. So what Rob is saying to you about this woman just happening to show up, it's not by chance this woman just showed up. I'm betting you that these animals got together with other spirit guides and connected in. This woman shows up and then bam, gets the message of a lifetime on this, quelling this grief. I mean, it doesn't take it away. It almost changes the grief into something completely different. And Rob, I don't know what word you could use there, but do you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like a chemical change in the grief you're feeling, and it's just replaced with something different, something much more digestible. I think it's not that you lose the hurt and the pain, but it shifts it to almost like they coated it with hope
Hmm.
and a reassurance that love continues on, and somehow that makes it more easy to digest, if you will. I'm not it's hard to put it into words, folks, isn't it, Rob? The
Yeah,
experience.
it's kind of like turning a negative into a positive, and letting you
Exactly.
see
There you
the
go.
the plus side of anything. I mean, there's a positive side to anything that happens, no matter how tragic it may be. But we just have to be strong enough to look through the
So
grief
hard.
in order to see the end result.
Right.
And I think that's what it is, and that's the hardest part.
It is.
Whether you're a cat parent or a dog parent, or the
It's
parent
oh,
of a human child who
it's
passed.
it's no easier. Either way, love is love, and when that's you feel like that's been ripped apart from you, it's, whether you're a mom or, especially so many pet parents. And Rob puts it better than I do, because he said it in so many of like his wonderful books, and we're going to get to a couple of those wonderful reviews. I've got a little surprise for you guys. I think you're going to like it. But it's that emptiness you feel when it's ripped apart. I'm telling you, animals, I've held animals and they've passed in my arms,
Mhm.
one after another, and when you know it, you've probably in the wee hours of the night talked to your pet about that. Don't you go before me, I won't be able to stand it. Don't you? And then you realize how selfish that is, and you go, oh no, that's horribly selfish, I wouldn't want that to be. I can't tell you the conversations I've had with my friends like this, in the wee
Mhm.
hours, and it's coming. I don't care how you go at it, it's hard and painful. And then you get to speak for just a little moment of some kind of reassurance of do you remember the blue ball when you used to bounce it off the wall and I'd catch it and I'd bring it back and we'd laugh, whatever it may be. And you
Yeah.
know it's him, Rob. You know it's them without a shadow of a doubt. And that little, just that little blink in time, that little bit of hope can carry you a lifetime because it proves to you that love exists no matter what.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And our pets let us know in many, many ways how they're still around. Um, as we discussed before, when I published Pets in the Afterlife 3 about dog spirits, my dog Dolly always let me know when she's around. She's let me she's led me to another dog that looked like her. Um, I've felt her against me like a cold feeling. Because spirits use energy from the movement of air molecules, slow them down, and then it creates a cold spot. So if you feel that and you're sensing somebody around you, that's what's happening. They're just coming up. Um, I lost my train of thought here, but
I understand completely.
Anything that reminds you of your pet that passed is actually you were led to that so that
Absolutely.
you know that they're still around.
And I think too, Rob, we have to stop putting limits on these things. That's something I've noticed with humans thinking about pets, or humans think even in life, we put limits on our pets. We don't realize how smart and how much they understand and how intelligent they are and how they are going to remember, you know, whether you yelled at them or whether you loved them through something, or, you know, we have this way of, what do I mean by that? Like something my mom used to tell me when I got upset about people fishing. Now, I'm not taking on any fishermen here, and I don't want to get in a battle whether fish is. But when I was a kid, I used to get mad that people would fish and they'd take the hook out of the fish's mouth and just throw it back, you know, or when I was bothered by that as a child, because I'm thinking, of course they feel that. And then the adults around me would say, oh, they don't, you know, feel that, they're different and they're this. And I'm like, how do you know? And
Yeah.
here, you know, as I get an adult, but that's just something adults tell people, kids, so
Yeah.
they'll shut up, you know?
Right. Exactly.
But they do the same to us, though, when we're talking about our even, you know, death, or whether it's, you know, pets or whatever. And people like us, Rob, and people listening to this, we know different.
Yeah.
Because there's so much love and so much that exists. And it's funny too, like going back to the Hoover, when you're sitting there and you're watching different people come in and their reactions to their messages and what they get. It's interesting to watch. Some people, they only need that one thing. It's what, you know, that's fantastic. And then I've watched over the years too, not just at Hoover, but in other places where they could sit down and have a full-on conversation. The loved one or person coming through could tell them 100 things and still not enough, because there's some kind of unresolved issue that you have unresolved for yourself. Now follow me for just a second. If someone is passed and they're in the spirit world, they're going to see things different than we do. What's important to them and what's important to us may be two different things. Love for sure is important, but little squabbles and things like that. We had last week at the weekend, I can't say who or what, and I won't give you details, but there was a problem in the family where the person that came through, the past loved one, had crossed over, but was in an extremely agitated state. And in fact, the table just kept going bump, 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 like back and forth. It was just rocking back and forth continuously without ceasing. It was like he was just rocking like this, the person's energy. He was just so angry. Well, come to find out, as we peeled through, there was a situation, as often arises with family. There was a situation with the will or money left did not get into the hands of where this person had wanted it to go, had tried very hard to make sure it would wind up where they wanted it to go, to children and loved ones that they wanted cared for. And it seems that another had somehow swindled and changed that, and it wound up ricocheting off in another direction. That's the nicest way I can put it. So the people there, of course, are remembering this in anger, and that dirty rotten scoundrel, such and such. How could they
Hmm.
do that to this person? This person was wonderful, and of course they've got that person all stirred up. They're all stirred up. You could tell this is a conversation constantly amongst family. Think Hatfields McCoys.
Yeah.
Think constant battle. Of course, the loved one, it is a constant companion in these conversations and verbal battles, is going to be this agitated, Rob, to the point of there they are at a table tipping, and the table is doing this constant. I promise you, 20 minutes straight is not an overshoot for a guess here on how long this lasted, because
Wow.
the person that we're conversating, I had to sing, I had to pull out my you know me, Rob. I just okay. Well, I got my bag of tricks. We could not get him to focus, and they were both agitated, of course, because of the situation. I had to get this man here to talk about. Do you have any happy stories? Can you tell some stories that you guys were just, went off to some kind of mischief or whatnot? And perhaps, something funny. So he started talking about working on cars and
Hmm.
probably driving too fast and getting away with mischief when they were teenagers and stuff, which helped a lot. You could feel the energy change.
Yep.
And then I was getting ice cream. So we started talking about ice cream, which again, energy started to change. And you could feel the let's just say the daughter, this is her father, just the angst and the anger and the years of trying to battle this here on earth in this plane, and this father getting drawn back to that. So I just said, what music, whatever. Somebody said Patsy. Well, he liked Patsy Cline, so ran into crazy,
Hmm.
and the whole thing just stopped. And he turned, Rob, and he listened. You could feel it. Big
Wow.
smile, big smile. And I said, now listen to me. Now that I got your attention. But this is my style. But the point is, the reason for telling that whole story, what are they doing? Again, not their fault, not a criticism, an observation. What are they doing to that spirit?
Yeah.
Creating agitation,
Yeah.
worry, fear, grief. Constant, probably when they're talking to them, we're sorry for this, we're sorry for that. Oh, the anguish, we're so whatever, crying. And again, rightfully so. But when we switched it to ice cream and Patsy Cline and his Bermuda shorts and his fantastic smile and his great tan, he went out of there, went around the table in love, touched both of them. They both felt a palpable difference.
Wow.
And he left in a happier mode. Now, we didn't fix everything, but it's like therapy, isn't it, Rob?
It is. It's spiritual therapy.
It's
That's pretty
amazing
amazing.
when
Yeah.
you think about that, but you do the same with the animals. But here's the thing. The animals don't have those hangups, do they, Rob?
No. And that's why I choose as a medium to
Yeah,
specialize with
absolutely.
pets, because
Yeah.
people have too many hangups. And I have
Yep.
encountered a lot of people, and I would much rather deal with pets.
Well,
um,
the last story in tandem, because here it is. Now, the
mhm.
pets, the dog would come in there, in and out the legs. Love you all. Thank you for bouncing the blue ball. Please don't feel bad that I left. I loved you, all this other stuff. And again, I can say this and I can help you, but when it comes to me, I'm a basket case, I assure you. Ask Rob. But it's interesting how animals are, I hesitate to say superior in that department, but you know what? They really are unconditionally love you know, the way they can handle that transaction and
Mhm.
coming in and out and loving, and you know, our grief can hold them back, I think, just like anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely have it over us with love. Um, I wanted to go back to table tipping before we get more into
Please do.
the
Please do.
cats, because I have another story to share with you about the
Absolutely.
Hoover House when you weren't there. But this way you'll feel like you were there. So one thing I've learned is that a lot of people don't actually know what table tipping is, and I didn't know what it was either until I went to the Hoover House for the first time. And so the way that I would describe it is that several people sit around a table and you lightly put your hands on top of the table, not touching it, not really putting pressure on it,
Right.
and then ask a spirit a question, either a spirit who's crossed over or an earthbound ghost to communicate with you. And then the table will either move or not move as an answer. Um, so to me, I look at it as kind of like a tool um, similar to a Ouija board, but not something that will open doors like a Ouija board,
I agree.
like doors to bad areas.
I agree.
Um,
And isn't that odd, just that slight difference? But I think it's
yeah,
because there's a spirit that's a good spirit that's in tune with somebody in the group that's
mhm.
already got that blocked, which
Yeah,
is,
that makes perfect sense to me.
it does. It does. It's
So
another filter. It's another filter.
it is. Yep. So at one point um, when I had participated in this table tipping with Jim and his sister and somebody else was there. I can't remember who it was, so forgive me.
Hmm.
Um, Jim said he sent out an open invitation for any earthbound ghosts in the area that would like to cross over. And the minute he did that, Cisco, I got a massive headache on the left hand side of my head, and and it felt like it honestly felt like a gunshot in the head. What that would
Well,
feel like.
yeah.
It was so painful that I remember wincing on that side, and it became excruciating for like 30 seconds, and I had to tell. I knew it was a ghost. Had to tell the ghost to please stop
Hmm.
because they share their pain of death, just like animals do with me.
Hmm.
Um, so while we were sitting there, um, the other details started to come through from him, including he gave me the War of 1812 to 1814, and then he said to me the 1820s, and that he said that's when he died. So what I figured was that he had taken his own life by shooting himself in the head. Um, he also that also told me that he was left-handed because it was on the left side that I felt the gunshot. And I asked him why. And he said that he was suffering from what we now know as PTSD. And he just couldn't handle it anymore. Um, so that's a fascinating story, but there was
Yeah.
more to it because we wound up opening. We kept asking him questions. We opened a portal to help him cross over, um, and then I asked his mother to come through, and I actually saw her standing there,
Oh,
extending
wow.
her left hand. So she was left handed and she was holding a basket in her right hand. And behind the mother was his father and a young boy who was apparently the younger brother. But anyway, so Jim wound up leading the crossing over. And the guy also told me his name. He told me his name was Albert Johnson.
Okay.
So they were gonna look him up, and apparently Jim's sister said that there's a photograph that's hanging in the historical society, uh, and it's connected to Albert Johnson. And
Wow.
there's a photograph of a man wearing a uniform in the 1800s. So we believe that was him. Um,
Amazing.
so, so
Now, was it in Hoover House or somewhere in Waynesboro, somewhere close by? Did you ever find out where he was when he passed or no?
he was near Waynesboro.
Yeah.
So he was
Wow.
involved with the War of 1812 to 1814, but he came back to Waynesboro after the war.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, PTSD. Oh,
and
yeah.
that's what that was it was too traumatic for him to go on. So that's just a
Yeah.
little tidbit from my from my
Isn't that
table tipping
amazing? And that's
experience.
just, and so many people here also talking about the table tipping. It is amazing. Before I'd heard about it, and I said the same thing as Aunt Edna, I'd have to see that. As soon as you realize nobody's feet are anywhere near this table, there's no magnets, there's no
No.
possible way anybody could be when we were there, and I don't know if I ever told you this story. Rob, because it seems like as our consciousness keeps changing, we can accept more and more information, and that information we also realize is multi-leveled. Like you
Hmm.
say, if you're grieving, read one of my books. I might not be able to get a reading to you right now, but there's countless tales of all of these pets coming back and giving you information, giving you spot on detail of their identity and how much love exists. It helps you. It might not be a one-on-one at that moment, but all of this information is multi-leveled. This guy coming back and talking about his uh taking his own life because of PTSD, and
Hmm.
understanding that in these wars, even in the wars, here recently,
Any war.
nobody understands that. Nobody
No.
understands that. And in the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, probably understood so little here on American soil as well globally,
Hmm.
that there was so much of that insanity in the Civil War that they just put them all in a group and just let them pretty much bounce off of each other, for a while, until you send these people out into the world without medical care, without guidance, and you wonder why if these things happen, and families are destroyed, or people ride the trains and wind up becoming transient, or whatever happened back then. And these small towns are just thick with these stories, and it seems, Rob, once they're told, it almost eases the pain, even if there's nobody there to help them cross. Just by
Hmm.
hearing the story, getting that story out seems to help them do it for themselves. They can begin to see the light, that darkness peels back. They can kind of see it. But that's with human spirit or earthbound, and then spirits that come back and visit. But animals, they come back because we're grieving, I think, a lot more. That's something I wanted to always remember, is like, you go through it and then just go be free. I want you to be happy and go feel better and get all that earthly burden and the pain off of you. And if you can do that, that's one of the most unselfish things I think you can do, is, letting a pet go that's in pain,
Hmm.
doing it with dignity, uh, and they always come back and say that, don't they, Rob, when they get the chance? Thank you for doing that. They get it. And I think that's the thing that kills us. We think they don't understand, and they do. They
Yeah,
do.
they do. Yeah.
Yep.
So, um, in my Pets in the Afterlife series of books, I have four of them for you folks listening. My latest one is Pets in the Afterlife 4, Messages from Spirit Cats.
Hmm.
Number 3 is about dogs, and number 1 and 2 is about dogs, cats, birds, horses, any other domesticated animal that I can communicate with. Um, but it's been proven scientifically that pets, particularly dogs and cats, have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old child. So think
Hmm.
about what a 3 to 5 year old child can say, can do, how they react, how they behave. They can take in a lot of information, and then they repeat it back to us as adults.
Hmm.
You might hear your 5 year old say a bad word in the back seat of your car,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
That's
Um,
happened.
so if a 5 year old human child can do that, a 5 year old or a dog of any age knows when you're saying that particular word that you're not happy, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm. So
So
true.
they can read our emotions, and it
Hmm.
really works the same way.
Hmm.
So like you said, they know, they really absorb a lot more than we think they do.
Hmm.
And Cisco, I just read this past May that there was a study out, a scientific study studying cats, and the scientists concluded that cats take in, absorb, and remember much more information than we think they do. Um, and one of my favorite stories in my Pets in the Afterlife 4 book, that I've talked about a couple of times, is about this cat named Buddy, and I will share that with you if you want to hear this
Please
amazing.
do. Yeah.
Okay, so Ingrid is the mom, and Ingrid wrote me and told me that she wanted to find out if Buddy was okay, and she had various questions, and I can't remember what the questions were, but I was able to provide the answers through Buddy. And one of the things that stood out was a really weird word that I've never heard before, and it was the word mala. And Buddy kept repeating it over and over again, and I said, I have no idea what that word means. And as you know, I do my readings by email, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
typing this out, and I said, Ingrid, I don't know what this word means. You're going to think I'm crazy, but it's the word mala. And um, I know the word mal means bad in Spanish, but that's not the word. So I said, anyway, this is for you to sit on and get back to me. And then I sent the email off. And then a day later or 2 days later, Ingrid wrote me back, and she thanked me for the reading, and she acknowledged some of the other things that I put in there, and she said the thing that stopped me in my tracks was the word mala. And as I read the email, my mouth dropped open, because she said there are only two living beings in this world that know that word in reference to me. She said myself and my cat Buddy, because every morning I would wake up and Buddy would come in my room and I would do the mala meditation with Buddy. Nobody else in the world knew that.
Oh, wow.
So I read that, and I got
Yep.
chills.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how much a cat can tell you from the other side.
Absolutely. And don't think they don't. They pick up everything. I remember I had, I think, 3 teeth, two extracted and something else. My mouth, I was in just get it all done at once and over, right? I
Sure.
come home and I lay down on the bed, and I remember talking to my son and saying something, and here comes Mr. Dickens, crawls right up the center, sits right in front of me, looks right into my face, and takes his paw and puts it on my mouth just for a moment, and looks right into my eyes, and I'm like,
Wow.
oh my God, and you just like almost instantly heal. I mean, he literally did this, and you can't make something like that up. You can't
Mm-mm.
tell me that they don't have that. When he passed, and I told Rob this, when he passed, it was the next day, because that's the day we buried him. We had a wonderful ceremony for him. It was fantastic with music, the whole spiel. And of course we did. And that afternoon, it was like he was gone when he was leaving, and he took a time. I don't know how he implanted visuals in each person's head. So it was myself, Mario, and Tone. And he went around and he placed a visual with him in different hats to each person. And to each person, it meant something personal and specific between that person and Dickens. And
Wow.
I know, it's insane, right? And each hat, and that person immediately thought of, well, this is what that means to me. And as soon as they got it, he kind of like turned and was gone. And the next person, and we all came within 2 days and said, wait a minute, I had one of those too. So it was one, that's how we found out we each had them. And when he passed to me, it seems like I was the last one he came to. He's in a top hat. So to me, it was because Dickens, it
Hmm.
was always that Charles Dickens thing of that
Hmm.
class, and that's
Yes.
smart. And also, I always had a thing where said, if you're going to go, go in style. And I think it was also his way of telling me, boy, mom, did I go in style? I mean, we had everything that you could possibly, and he turned and poof, and that was, but to each person, is that not, well, I knew he was extra special. I knew
Yeah.
he was extra, but to take that kind of time and have that wherewithal, and not one person kind of came out and said, hey, guess what just happened? It just unfolded in natural conversation to where everybody went, wait a minute, that happened to me too, but he was wearing this kind of hat. Sort that one out, folks.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I mean, but that just goes to show that they can do this. So they do the same, I believe, to you, Rob, where they show us imprints of pictures, and we'll see a picture of like a banana, and we go, I don't know what that means. But human spirits do that too. We were doing it all weekend with table tipping and other things that we were going through at the Hoover and other places in
Yeah.
Gettysburg. And I'm saying, well, what is the ice cream? Like I said before, what does ice cream mean? And the guy turns and looks at me and he goes, he loved ice cream, every flavor. And I'm like, can you go out and have a bowl of ice cream and tell happy stories about you and him fishing and working on cars, whatever it was that just made you laugh, and eat the ice cream? Help him out with his energy, because everybody else is just trying to bother this poor spirit with stuff he already took care of on this earth. He didn't mess this up. The people, the living that left behind, are the ones that have to work through their journey. He's done. Just send him love and thank him for everything he did. And I'm sorry that what he left behind, these earth beings here, whatever you want to say, the ones that are still here working their journeys out, are messing it up. He's done. Send him love. Don't ask him to sort it out. I had to tell this guy that this is how I got him to bargain with him after the ice cream and singing Patsy Cline. I told him, look, here's the deal. You can't help anybody in the state you're in. If you stay in this agitated state, in this low vibrational, you're not going to help yourself or anybody else. I said, I'll tell you what, if you work on lifting your vibration, as long as you do it in love, you can come back and influence and help others that are here, in love, but raise your vibration. Right now, you can't do anything but just sit here and vibrate like this table. It's like I said, it's similar. It seems that humans, we have to do this with, but animals, they've got it. They understand. They just come back and give you these little messages, wearing hats or showing pictures of their favorite toy or whatever it may be. So if you want to go ahead and comment on that, I put you together a little something, and I wanted the folks to see what it's like to get a reading and have a confirmation from your loved ones like this. So it's going to take me a second to find it, but go ahead. Did you have any other stories of Hoover?
I had other ones, but I wanted to address the grief and loss for just a second.
Go right ahead.
So for anybody that's listening that has lost a pet, whether it's a dog or cat or a horse or bird or any domesticated animal, I after I wrote the first two books, I found out that a lot of people were still trying to deal with how to cope with the grief and the loss. So in the Pets 3 book, a good friend of mine who's a medical psychologist wrote a chapter on how to cope with grief and loss. And in this book, Pets 4, a very good friend of mine, Kristen Young, who is a clinical social worker in the state of Massachusetts, deals with people who are coping with grief and loss. And she wrote a special chapter to help people do things to work through their grief. Like she says, don't put a time limit on grief, and consider counseling, and keep yourself busy. And there's all kinds of great suggestions about what to do. So my books are not just about stories about how other pets communicate and what signs to look for, but I also help you. I teach you with expert advice beyond me how to cope with grief and loss, and that's so important. I mean, I needed it.
So did me too.
Yeah, when my dogs Dolly and Franklin passed, I was a total train wreck. And people think that because I'm a medium, it's okay. I have a step up, but that's
and it
not
doesn't. You think it makes it easier, but and somehow it does. It's like you're going through it and you're going, come on, better, this, and we're still reaching out to each other, trying to reaffirm and validate what we already know. It's absolutely human to do this, because I don't know how many times I've reached out to Rob, because Dickens will mess with us. Dickens was messing with Rob before he ever passed. Rob sent me a t-shirt. First time I ever met him, it was a book and some other things. Dickens jumped right up in the center of it and sat up and it wanted to be in the picture. I mean, I'm looking through the camera ready to take the picture. Like, I got all the wonderful things you sent. Thank you so much, my friend. Just a quick message to Rob. And he jumps up and sits in the middle of it. Now, I'm grieving like crazy, and we're going through the ceremony. I don't even know which end was up. I was probably, just pushing through the day. And I had to change for my PJs. So I reached in the drawer, grabbed a t-shirt to go out there and bury my best friend. It was a terrible day. And when it's all over, I look down. What t-shirt do you think I was wearing? Rob's t-shirt that says Pets in the Afterlife. When you give, and I had no idea, Rob, no idea I had picked this. It was just a white t-shirt in the drawer, and I grabbed it, put it on. Yeah,
I have a story
in
for
my
you
drawer.
the same. I have a similar story.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hold on. I'm going to remember that. I want to play this for you. If anybody wants to go ahead, Rob, if you want to grab some more coffee or whatever, it's just a little video that I put together because I wanted to reach out and tell you guys about two wonderful things. One, Rob is absolutely wonderful. Wonderful interviews on YouTube, his YouTube channel. But I came across, this is another one I just know that Dickens did, because again, when you recognize the signs that spirit gives you, that particular spirit, whether it be your mom, your grandpa, or your dog, or your cat, whatever, the path gets so easy for them to walk back and forth. They'll come quicker. They'll come more frequent, especially when you recognize them and validate them, so that you might hear more songs when you get in the car, or find more pennies, or whatever it may be. That's my belief. So I'm going through, and I really, all of a sudden, it was like I was just walking. I said, man, I miss you, my friend. I was just coming back from the cooler. I got a dozen roses, and I got to do an order. And something made me think of him. And I said, I miss you, my friend. And I sent out love. And I reached down, and I grabbed this necklace I have. It was made with this picture I wear around my neck, And I just grabbed a hold of it, and I just kind of smiled, and I went on, and I hit my phone on Spotify. Just the next story. Was this a little true crime, to get you through the day? And the next story happens to be Pets in the Afterlife with Rob Gutro. I kid you not. And that podcast was Unsolved Mysteries on Spotify. I grabbed a couple of snippets and a couple of other little things, and I wanted to just make you aware of this wonderful podcast, as well as this wonderful episode with my friend Rob Gutro. So without further ado, here's a little taste of that, and I hope you guys will check it out. I think if I can get it. Hold 1 second. Boy, I messed up here. Hold 1 minute. I can fix it. All aboard the Hot Mess Express. Here we go.
You are so funny.
Here we go. There we go. All right, I'm going to get some hot water, guys. Enjoy. You're going to love it.
The woods. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that he would know that. And then he also wrote, he hears somebody calling off in the distance a name like Elsa or Lisa, and he can't quite make it out. And the dog is with a woman with, looks like light hair, either light blonde hair or white hair. So he's describing my mother-in-law exactly. Some of the stuff that he described is just beyond explanation. I had tears coming out of my eyes when I read that stuff. One of the things he said, the dog says he's fine and healthy on the other side and enjoying himself. That just kind of put me at peace. If nothing else, Rob did a really great thing for me from that light.
He did mention a squeaky toy or a squeaky duck that she had related to him that was her favorite toy. This is what really hit me as I was driving away to a job site after I talked to Rob. I had to stop and pull over and take a picture of what was sitting on my dash, because the day after she passed away, I grabbed a little Duck Dynasty duck and I put her tag on it. And I put that in the dash of my truck, and it has been there ever since. The kind of thing that you see it all the time, but you miss it, and don't notice it because it's there so much. And Rob's conversation to me was the duck that used to squeak. And I hesitated, and then I grabbed that duck and I checked, and sure enough, it had a squeaker that didn't work that she had bit through. And that's for me. I don't know how he could pick out something that meant something to her that also meant something to me. That's what I wanted to keep around. And his comment during the interview was that she's glad that I have that toy. And I'm starting to break up about it now because that was me and Charlie. We'd play fetch and squeaky toys and stuff.
There's so much truth to this. I answered 4 very simple questions. You'll see them at the end. And the information that Rob gave back to me was so on. He got so many things right, and it has just given me so much peace and closure with this sweet little dog I never got to say goodbye to. And one of my favorite things there is the yellow flowers. He mentions the yellow flowers, and I completely forgot that I have a little vase of yellow flowers next to Muppet's little cremation box. So if you're a pet parent that needs some closure, consider reaching out to Rob. Here's the info. Here's how you get in contact with him. It was so worth it.
You cannot beat those affirmations, folks. Those little validations. They're absolutely wonderful. Well, how about that? Let's see if we can get that down here. How about that? So that's what I'm talking about. The little things. The duck without the squeaker. You have that duck. Rob, did any of that spark a memory? What a wonderful episode that was on Unsolved Mysteries. They're really a class A. I mean, it was very, very well done.
I can put the link in the chat if you want.
Perfect. Absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you for putting that together. That's really sweet.
See, that's the thing, though. For each person that misses that, we have a lot of pet lovers in here, and we have a lot of people that have lost so many, right? Hello, Jack. Hey, welcome, everybody. So there's your link. That's the thing. How many times do we have to hear? But as many as possible, Rob. I'm sure you get it all day long, all the time, from ghosts as well as the living, from pets as trying to connect with their pet parent that just can't get through. And again, I think the grief is the hardest thing. If we could just move through it and add more smiles than tears, if we can just work our ways to it, it helps so much. I've had countless proof of that with my own loved ones and myself. And I'm sure you have too, Rob, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And you wanted to tell us a little bit about something else with the cats. And I think people don't give enough credit to how much, like you said, cats pick up and understand and really connect in with us and really understand what's going on almost telepathically, reading our pain and our thoughts and our emotions, just like dogs.
Yeah, they absolutely do. So one of the chapters in the cat's book, by the way, addresses a whole bunch of questions that people have like that. Also, like, do pets grieve for other pets? And the answer is, of course, yes, they do. Do they understand when a pet passes? And they also understand too that when another pet is failing, if they're bonded to another pet, you'll notice that they'll be, after the pet passes, their companion pet, they will be depressed, just like people do.
So yes,
they have to work through all that too. So I have a special chapter on all kinds of Q&A for people who lost pets and may have those kinds of questions. And pets do know it when it's their time. That's one of the most important things I think that people need to understand is that they really do know, and they will give you signs that they're just worn out.
Hmm.
One of the ways they do that is to distance themselves from you. So normally, if a pet is very attentive, usually around you all the time, and then they start disappearing, that's a sign. And you know they're sick. That's a sign that they want to pass. They're ready.
Hmm.
Um, so these are all things that we just need to be aware of. It's really about paying attention.
Hmm.
That's really what the
Hmm.
bottom line is.
Yes, and I think, like I said, the number one thing that we do is just assuming that they don't get it. We miss, or that they're not aware of everything. Everything. We just went away, like I said, the first time, a couple of days. We had wonderful neighbors coming in twice a day with all the food and the this and the that and check-in. We had cameras and the whole nine, going checking on them. You got movement. Yep. Okay. They're doing okay. They're going to the window to watch the birds. Okay. They're making the rounds. Everything's cool. And then we go through, what do we do? What do you mean they're fine? They don't need us? Human beings are the most wishy-washy when it comes to this. Is like, I hope they miss me and they're miserable, to prove that they love me. And then we're amazed that they're doing just fine without us. But they do. I think the thing that gets us a lot too is how long are we gone to them? Like a day when we're gone at the office,
Mhm.
is it,
Yeah.
how long is that for them? And I remember I had to leave when my son was in the accident. I was gone for a while from Mr. Dickens, and he obviously grieved. I'm trying to talk to him on the phone. I haven't left you. I haven't abandoned you. I'm coming home. I mean, they don't understand, and I think that's the hardest part for us, is to say they don't understand why we had to, let them go, or help them, assisted them with, if we had to get them euthanized or whatever. Um, no matter how nice we try to make it, it's really hard to go through that and try to think, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Did he understand why I did it? Why didn't I know sooner? We put ourselves through all kinds of stuff. And like Rob and I said in the beginning, knowing doesn't seem to make it easier when it's
No.
you. So
No.
go
It
easy
actually.
on yourself, go easy on yourself, because you guys, everybody here in this chat got me through mine, and it'll be in year in October. And they went through the whole process with me where we were sitting with him and trying the medications. And we did that because, my God, if it helped one person,
Mhm.
and plus it helped us because we're sending love back and forth. And, maybe that's an important thing to remember too, Rob, is you said that the animals like to go off and hide. They want to be alone. If they were outside, they'd go off in the woods,
Yeah.
be
Sometimes
left
they
alone.
have. Mhm.
Yeah. But it's also important, I think, for people to remember to maybe not do that, not go off and hide and try to, reach out, let people at least know what you're going through. Because that's what we're here for, to get each other through stuff like that, to help
Yeah.
ourselves understand. And I think that's what you're doing, Rob, when you set out and you made the decision not to keep this to yourself. When you made the decision, if I'm going to go through this,
Mhm.
if I'm going to have this ability, I'm going to share it, because if I don't, nobody's going to know. Um, and if you can put yours out there and help somebody else get through their grief or understanding of ghosts, same thing. I think you get the same compassion with animals as you do with human beings, the ghosts that you encounter. Even at, the people at Hoover House. I don't know if you went down in the basement. Did you go around it all? Because every level of that house is different in the Hoover House.
I did not go down the basement. I actually didn't feel comfortable going down the basement.
Yeah, that's where I went, right down, right down in there, because, well, the thing is is mine. I was feeling that there was multiple. It used to be a speakeasy, of course, like you said, too, assisted living. It was other things as well. But that whole speakeasy is easy and back alley, the ins and outs, the ups and downs throughout history. You can imagine back alley deals, literally, all that kind of thing. That little town was probably really hopping in certain decades, especially around Prohibition and things like that. Well, this is a typical, and I'll tell it as quickly as I can, story of multi-layered haunting, why the ghosts or the earthbound spirit is there. The earthbound ghost is there. We're sitting down there and everybody is going through their motions. Mike Simpson is there, Jim, wonderful people like Michael Laciana, all these right intent people. They're all there for the right reason. So it flows quickly. Jim is giving a little bit of his opening prayer and his opening protection and light. And he says to the ghost there in that cellar, which we all felt was palpable, very cold. You can trust us. Somewhere along that, I don't have it verbatim, but it was very similar. You can trust us. We are here for the right reasons. We want to help. We want to listen to you. If you have something to say, this is Jim. At the same time, I hear the last time I trusted somebody. This is the feeling I'm getting in my head, this side of my head. All of a sudden, I start to be choked from the inside out, Rob. Not here. I didn't feel hands. I felt something tightening inside my throat, like I was being choked. At the same time, as scary as that sounds, I was at the same time getting this huge, very quick, very clear, what I can only describe as a download of information of this woman. This is what she felt as she was being killed, and what she was going through quickly of processing what was happening to her. She trusted this guy. This was the last person she'd think would turn on her. She's getting choked and she's processing this. Oh my God, wow. You're going to kill me. Now she's showing me all this and I'm throwing up my hands going, no, let her finish. Of course I can't talk, but the people around me understood what I meant. They just let me go through it. She finally released that. She gave me all that information real quick. And when it was all done, the Ovilus was going off. The thing that throws the words up had her name. And she was saying Allie. Jim thought her name was Allison. I said, no, it has nothing to do with that. She was killed in the alley. This happened in the alley behind us.
Okay.
And Rob, you won't believe why she was there. She wasn't stuck. I listened to her. And between myself and Jim and the information that they were getting, we all came together. We deduced, and I felt like she agreed. She was there to assist the one who killed her. He was still there in the cellar. He is the shadow figure that you see. Oh my gosh. She came through to forgive for herself so she could elevate her vibration. It makes sense. Yep. If you think about this.
It does.
And she's trying to talk him. It's okay. You can come out too. You can leave too. And since then we all sorted all that out. Neither one of those two spirits have ever been heard from again for 2 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
I can't explain it. Wow. Is that not trippy?
Yeah, that's amazing.
But I tell this story because I just sat down with Jim and Dave and a couple others there. Again, we were talking about it. Hoover House seems to be that place to go and get that kind of stuff sorted. And it must be because of the light and the positivity there. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of resolution that happens with Earthbounds there, and Jim invites earthbounds to come in so that we can help cross them over. And that's what happened when I was there a couple of times.
Wow, so cool.
So it really is an amazing place. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's really trippy. And to think about that, it's not the first time I've heard a story similar to this. And I wanted all my medium friends and everybody to be aware, because it seems like it's kind of amping up. And I don't know if it's because we're more aware of it and we're noticing it more, if there's a consciousness difference, something in our understanding where we're ready to see these things, and spirit are trying to come in and getting some of these people crossed. I'm hearing an awful lot of this, and it's just an amazing time to be alive, to see, be a part of in a small way. These things that are happening. I think it's wonderful. We're at the Wyndham. Jim Grant, my friends, I swear. It's like you come down the hallway with an antique table over the shoulder. We're going to go around the corner, do some table tipping. We're going to cross some people over. I got a lady who wants to talk to her father. Are you coming? I'm like, of course I'm coming. And we all go that way. We sit down. We get in a nice, quiet little spot of the Wyndham Hotel. I can't even tell you what time it was. And we all sit down. Eric of Unseen Paranormal was there. The people that were meant to be there were there. Jenny, Jim's sister, wonderful. What a soul she has. My gosh. She, some of these people you meet are just an absolute just light. They're just wonderful. So a bunch of people are there. And here comes this lady who didn't have any idea this was going to happen. And she gets connected with her father and settles so many years of garbage, just gone, just gone. And she's crying. Everybody around the table's crying. Next, we love you. Hugs. The table leans in and hugs, pushes against you. I don't know how this happens, but I've seen it time and time again. And the next one comes in. It happens again and again. And it's amazing. Anything like this that's for that positive, Rob, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's a beautiful thing, my friend. So if there was something in the book of the cats, I think it's important for us to reiterate this again, because people seem to think, my pet turtle's not going to come through. My pet horse isn't going to come through. My pet, whatever. Yes, it will. Because you love it, right, Rob? And it loves you.
Yeah. I've been doing readings for, actually I've been doing a number of readings for rabbits that have come through.
Wow.
And they're pretty amazing, pretty spot on. Rabbits, like cats, take in a lot more information than we think they do. I mean, nobody really thinks that rabbits have, generally people don't think that rabbits know what's in their environment, but rabbits are a lot smarter than we think they are.
Yes.
So, and they have their own personalities just like everybody else. And so one of the things I wanted to mention to you was one of the cats that I mentioned in the book. There's a chapter about this cat named Cairo that came to me. Cairo's mom didn't know why Cairo passed. And this is one of the things that sometimes people will ask me when they ask for readings. So Cairo's mom wrote me and said that he was circling around her and he was making breathing noises, and she had never seen him do that before. And then he collapsed. So she knew that something was terribly wrong because it hadn't happened before. She said that she didn't know how to perform CPR, and she couldn't stir him. She called a cab to take her to the vet, but on the way to the vet, he passed away. So she was in deep grief, trying to figure out what in the world happened to Cairo. So I was able to connect with Cairo, and Cairo told me that there was a genetic defect. He made me feel like there was a heart defect. And whenever I'm connecting to a pet, they will share, like I mentioned earlier, their pain, like the pains they experienced before they pass, or a pain that they experienced during their life that they remember. But I got the sense that he found it hard to breathe, and it made me feel like a valve in his heart was malformed at birth. So there was nothing that could have been done to save him, which was important for his mom to hear, because we all feel responsible, like there's something more we could have done to help our pets, and a lot of times that's not the case. So when I emailed her the reading and I told her that CPR couldn't have saved her, she wrote me back, and she wrote me back like days later, and she said that she was in tears of relief, because she called the breeder and she asked the breeder if Cairo's parents had a history of heart murmurs. Um,
Oh,
she said the breeder was getting a lot of calls about that recently with the litter that their that Cairo's parents had had.
oh
So
my.
she said it startled her into another sense of relief, because the vet had told her that even looking in Cairo's eyes, that it looked like he suffered from some underlying condition. So she told me that she thinks the litter may have had the problems, and that's why the breeder was being flooded with all these phone calls of concern. So that message that Cairo provided to me was the impetus for her to contact the breeder and find out that there was in fact heart defects in the litter of those cats, and
Wow.
that brought her peace. So that's, to me, that was a very successful connection with Cairo, because Cairo helped me bring his mom peace finally.
Incredible. And they're so that way, folks. So when you understand the story I told about Dickens and putting his paw on my mouth, I mean, if you had asked me if he knew I was going to the dentist or that I was in pain or anything else, I mean, this is an incredible thing. And I can't tell you how many times your dogs have done this when you've had a bad day at work and you sit down on the couch and you're upset and they come up and they curl right up next to you like they want to take away that emotion. Your cats have done it, horses, you name it. They know. And they know now when you're grieving and when you think of them. I have a lady, very much like the little video I did for Rob. The lady there at the end, she was a TikTok user that just happened. She got a reading from Rob. It healed so many things. It connected her back to her dog, and she did not get a chance to say goodbye. She went on a little trip, if I remember correctly, and her husband called her while she was gone and said, "This is when the dog decided to pass." Probably the dog chose that time, because a lot of times our pets will do that
Mm-hmm.
and pass away from you, just like our human loved ones. We went away for coffee or went to go home and changed, left the hospital, and that's when they chose to pass. And we tear ourselves up about it, but that's what they wanted, because they didn't want to do it in front of you. I'm telling you, this stuff happens, right? So take all of this into consideration. Understand that every single one of these stories is your story. It's, if you could connect through, this is what your pets would come through and tell you, that they knew when you were upset. They know now that you're upset, that you miss them. So in the end of that story, the lady said that it really got her that Rob said the yellow flowers by, in this vase by where she kept his collar. And she had forgotten about the yellow flowers, went back and looked, and there were the yellow flowers in the little mason jar next to where she had the collar. Now, I give this advice all the time. I say, it's your mother's birthday. She liked yellow roses. Go buy yellow roses.
Mm-hmm.
Arrange them in your house. Put on her favorite song, whatever. Dance, arrange them. Tell stories about, that make you smile. Remember the time we went to the movie and we saw this, whatever, and laughed. Whatever it is, they see it. Your loved ones in human form see it, and your loved ones in animal form see it. This little dog saw it, told Rob, and he told the mom, so they could have that little hug from the other side. I have a lady that comes in, our florist, every Saturday. We call her the Saturday lady. And we always have a bouquet of bright colored flowers for her. And she takes those flowers home every Saturday, places them by her dog's picture, and tells that picture stories of when they used to go to the park and the ball that they used to play. And I'm watching her get better and better and better because she's doing this. And I know her loved one, her dog on the other side, feels the same. Rob, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to try for you to share this screen with all your wonderful books. You have so many that I cannot remember them all now.
There's
I
10
hope
of
we
them.
can. Isn't this amazing though? Look at there. Isn't that beautiful? And there's 4 to the series of Pets of the Afterlife. And the first
Yes.
one is wonderful. That's Buzz, isn't it?
It is Buzz. Yeah,
It's
all of my
Buzz.
dogs are on the first 3, and then some cats that are in cats, the book Cats in the Afterlife. Are those 2 cats on the cover are featured within as cats who gave great messages.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
One day we're going to have to get you some stories on Mr. Dickens. I think we're going to have to do a reading and see what that little booger has to say. I think he's probably going to drain you so much. He loves Rob so much that it's almost like when he does these things, Rob, it's like a little laugh. Like you guys have some kind of joke between you. And I tell Rob, and he says, I have no idea I was even involved in that. I said, all the time. He uses Rob all the time. If it's not the t-shirt, it's an interview that'll pop up here recently. Like I said, this week it was the Unsolved Mysteries. What are the chances of that? I'm sitting there talking to these crows on the wire as I'm walking back to my shop, and I think about my cat. I do something as profound as, kiss that little necklace and say, I love you, buddy. Hit the button on the podcast, and it's Rob. What is that? That's the most astronomical. There's no statistics.
There's no such thing as a coincidence when it comes to spirit. That's what I like to say.
It's absolutely amazing. And if Mr. Dickens can do that, yours are trying to probably do that too. Just send that love out there. And so many of these books are going to tell you that. Now, Rob, I don't want to let you go without you mentioning your wonderful books here on your travels. Now, next time you come, I'd love to hear some more about, your wonderful trip to Tombstone. All of these. You went to the Birdcage Theater. We've heard wonderful stories about going to Ford's Theater at Christmas and listening to the Christmas Carol and bumping into John Wilkes Booth in the gift shop. We tell that story all the time here because it's a perfect example of where's the ghost and why is the ghost where the ghost is, and is the ghost only there or can it be other places? Absolutely. But when you're thinking of him, everybody's talking about John Wilkes Booth. He did this. He's proud of this. He's a narcissistic.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Of course he's going to show up at the gift shop at Ford's Theater, right, Rob? Well, he's trying to go see a play. That's all he wants to do. Rob just wants to see the play, But it's a perfect lesson. We laugh, but it's a perfect lesson because the same principle why that happens is the same principle why your loved ones show up at the grave or show up over here because you're talking about them.
True.
They're following you.
Yeah, that's true.
And your thoughts. And you're connected in, right, Rob? So they are.
Yep.
Same thing.
So there
Tell
are
us about it.
In addition to the Pets in the Afterlife series, which has 4 books, there are 4 books in the series of ghosts and spirits. So earthbound ghosts or spirits who've crossed over. And the ones that you mentioned was the Ghosts on a Medium's Vacation series, which is one of my favorite series too. All the ghosts I met different places. And just so you know, Cisco, I am in the process of writing Ghosts on a Medium's Vacation in Ireland and Scotland right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I'm hoping to get that out in 2024.
Okay. And you have to come here and tell us about it because that's going to be exciting too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had a t-shirt story for you, by the way.
Go right ahead.
I meant to do that. When you mentioned the t-shirt thing, that just reminded me.
Okay.
I had a t-shirt made after our dog Sprite passed in 2013. He passed on July 8th, 2013. And I have a stack of like probably 150 t-shirts or 200 t-shirts, and they're in different stacks. And I don't know what t-shirt's coming up next.
Uh-huh.
I fold them and then I pull them out and then I put them on. Well, on the anniversary of Sprite's passing, that next t-shirt in line for me to wear was the t-shirt with Sprite's face on it that said Sprite, December 31st to July 8th. And I just looked at that. And I remember I put it on social media that I was so blown away that Sprite arranged for me to wear that t-shirt
Yep.
on the anniversary of his passing. It's not a coincidence.
It's
So
not a
that's my
coincidence.
t-shirt story.
It's absolutely fantastic. And to think how do they manipulate this? Again, Rob, all our little insights back and forth. We get together like this and we reach out to chats like this, and everybody's in the comments and say, they're affirming, or they're talking about their own things that have happened to them and things that they believe, the different signs and things. We always use these little tidbits to help others later on that we haven't met yet. And so many of these things happened when I can't even remember how many different tables and things I was involved in this weekend, because it's like a whirlwind when you go to the bash and Waynesboro and stuff. It sounds crazy to say you just grabbed a table and went around the corner and, crossed over some people and settled some family disputes that have been going on for decades, in a matter of 20 minutes, but it happened. So, and that's how spirit works. And that's how these animals work. And to think that Mr. Dickens didn't set up that pot. I can't tell you how he did that. Mm-hmm. Whether it was him and spirit guides and influences and everything else. Listen, one of the hardest times in my life where I was just, as a mom, I was up against the wall. I was trying to help one of my children, and I didn't know what to do. And I was literally at the crossroads. Before I got out of the car, I shut off the car, put my head down. How many times we gripped the steering wheel and just talked to God and said, listen, I need help. I need a sign. I need my spirit guides. I give you full permission to help me here. I need a sign. I need a smack in the face, something. I need to know what to do next, period. Tell me I'm doing the right thing. I need some guidance. I'm going to need a hand here. And that's just how I talk to my guides. We're cool with it. So I get out of the car and I walk into the store, and on this Muzak. Now, if you understand how Muzak works, this is just a recorded bunch of music. It's usually got a couple of pop hits, if you want to call it that. And it's usually got a couple oldies thrown in there. And if you go in that store at any given time during the week, you're going to hear that same bunch, 4 hours of music played over and over and over again, whether it's, until they put Christmas music in, and then it comes back again. It's the same loop, right? I go into this store and here comes a song that hadn't been out since 1970, whatever. It wasn't a classic hit. It definitely wasn't in the top 100, but it was one that was one of my mother's favorites. And I walked into this store and I'm hearing this song playing over the music, and I'm like, what? And I mean, I stopped cold and I went, okay, Mom, now I need you to go. I just kicked right in. There was no question anymore in my mind. She was there to guide me. I was in the right spot. I said, now I'm going to one up you. I need to know the person I need to talk to. The next person I see, I want to feel that that's the person I need to talk to. Who do you need me to talk to in here? Probably 9 employees. I'm walking through and I'm passing and I'm just feeling it. Nope. I pass an aisle and there's a kid putting away stocking down the end of the aisle. And I go to walk and I felt it, and I backed up and I looked again and I felt that's the one. He almost lit up, Rob. He almost had a slight glow about him. I mean, just enough to notice. And I went, that's the one. And I went and talked to him. He knew everything I was talking about. He knew exactly what to do. This was as close to life and death as you could possibly get, a situation. All of these things, this is what happens when you click in and you accept it, and you just jump on that I don't know whether you want to call it a leap of faith or an understanding or a knowing or a trusting, but trust your guides, trust your
Yep.
spirit guides. So many of these little animals that we thought were, I don't want to say, let's say fragile and needed us so badly, and they did, are so strong when it comes to the spiritual. And they are just as capable of guiding us through these daily things as any human spirit ever was. I believe that, Rob. What do you think?
I agree, and I actually have a similar story. I think you and I have so many different
We
parallels.
do.
It's
We
crazy.
do.
So
We do. Tell it.
I walked into a CVS, and I was thinking of my mom who passed in 2013, and I just thought, Mom, it'd be great to hear from you. I miss calling you every day, and so I walked down the card aisle, and one card I saw like it looked like a little white thing sticking out of the top, so I picked it up, and it was a poodle. My mother's favorite dog was her poodle. And
Oh,
that was the one card that I picked up. And as soon as I picked it up, on that music system came the song Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac, which was one of my mother's all-time favorite songs. The minute I picked that card up, and I'm like, okay, she's here. I mean, she led me to this card about a poodle, and then her song comes on the music at the same
how
time.
amazing. How
So that's
amazing.
yeah. So between you and I tonight are just so in tune between the T-shirt and the
Yeah.
moms and
Yeah.
music.
And it's incredible to me. I know you must think I'm absolutely nuts when I just reach out. I send Rob's messages like this all the time. I'm like, well, Dickens did it again. For some reason, Dickens was always so connected with Rob, and I always thought that they had this like secret little thing going on in the background because it's just so connected. And the little sucker uses that, like when I'm feeling really sad or something, he'll use that to like, Mom, now what is this nonsense? You're on here blabbing on about this, and this, and now you're shuffling down. You got your head down, missing me, and you go up and you're tapping my stuffed banana, and you're missing me, and you're hugging my blanket. Snap out of it, you old broad. You go talk to Rob. I mean, he's just so funny. I mean, listen, I mean, he does this stuff all the time, and I mean, it's not the only time he used that T-shirt. That T-shirt's about wore out, Rob. I think I need to get a new one.
I guess I can send you
I
another
got to
one.
get a new one because he'll do it. He'll do that, like I said, and all these different things. Books, but Rob's books will come off the shelf up here and things like that. It's like, Mom, but that's okay, Rob. That's what we're here to
Yeah.
do. We're all
Yep.
here to remind each other of these little things. And I can't tell you how many times the things that we've talked between each other and affirmed to us were great. Now go back out in the world and spread that around. All the little things we've used. That young man, well, I say young man, but the older couple, they drove all the way up here from Florida just to see if they could contact. I have no idea. I'm told to sit in a chair. Sit in a chair. We're going to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're finding out that these people have gone through decades of pain, decades of this Hatfield and McCoy's fighting, the birthday parties, the arguments, the Thanksgiving turkeys that were probably, flung across, who knows, just bitter fighting. And here's this poor spirit that they all say they love them. The reason they're upset is because they care so much for this spirit who's crossed, this loved one, their father, right? And
Yep.
to realize that this is tearing him up as much as it is tearing them up. If you love him, let's remember this in love. Let's sort it out and figure that these people they have to go down their own journey. We're only responsible for our own journey and how we handle these stresses and sufferings and strife. And if you really care about the loved one who's passed, send them love, send them good thoughts, whether dog or human or cat or whatever,
Okay. Yep.
or cat, and send that because it helps you. And I saw it myself. And that man who probably drove up thinking this was crazy and was doing it just to whatever, let's just do it. We'll go up there, we'll see, worked it out in his mind. He turned to me during that table tipping and he said, do you mean to tell me when I walk by and I talk to his picture when I'm at the garage and I'm going out to walk my dog. I probably go out and walk the dog 8 times a day, sit out in the back, and I walk past that picture and I look at the three of us standing there and I talk to it. And I say, man, I hope you're around. And he says, I go and sit in that porch out there and watch the dog go around the backyard. And I look up and there's always a little cardinal sitting in a tree. And I swear that cardinal's sitting there looking right at me. And I
Wow.
often think, I wonder if he sent that cardinal. And I said,
Yep.
well, you just answered your own question, sir.
Exactly.
And he said, all that time I was right. He really was there. And I'm like, yeah. And that's what he just got done telling you. I bet that drive back to Florida was a lot different going back than it was coming up there, Rob.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
And that's why we're here, my friend. If we do nothing else,
I have another
please
cat
tell
story
it.
I can share with
Please-
you if you would like.
Please tell us and send us out, my love. Do it.
All right. Very good. So this gentleman named Paul had written me, and he wanted to connect with his black cat named Wooster. And
I love
and he actually named the cat Worcester after the way that it's spelled in Massachusetts, but everybody pronounces it Wooster. So
That's cute.
So that's the way that's what he called his cat. And he was this was his like spirit cat. And he had all kinds of questions, and Wooster came through and identified people on the other side and told me his specific favorite spot in the entire house that he liked to be at. But one thing that really struck Paul and me was something that Wooster said. And cats and dogs will give me like one specific thing that really just is like over the top, out of the blue. And it means nothing to me, but it means something to the parent. This is the example of this. So I wrote to Paul and I said, I asked him if he had his ashes because Wooster was telling me about a box, which I assumed were his ashes. And then he showed me photos around the house. And then he said there's something about a special stone, something that has a significance to him, a stone. And I kept hearing cat's eye opal for some reason. So I wrote that in my message. And I said, but there's some kind of special stone he's talking about. So Paul replied and confirmed all these other things about his special favorite spot, who's on the other side, all this other stuff. And I'm going to read the quote from Paul from my book, from the chapter.
Please
and Paul said, I do have his ashes right here on my desk. To my right, and it's surrounded by a really vibrant blue labradorite rocks. Chunks of rainbows and blue hues from the labradorite are all around his little altar and box. I used to put some of them in his cat bed in the last months of his life, and I think that's what the cat's eye opal is that you mentioned. That's completely accurate, and I don't think I've ever told anyone else about that. Thank you so much.
Isn't that amazing?
So it's amazing that Wooster acknowledged those stones, and look at you with your little kitty.
This is Spirit.
And hi, Spirit. And so it turns out, by the way, Paul is actually Paul has his own. He has a lot of talents. He has something called he makes his own tarot cards called Straight Jacket Tarot. He just did an album to attribute to Cher, the performer of all her songs. And I'm like, here I am, this little obscure guy, and this guy who's pretty amazing is reaching out to me to get messages from his cat. So I was really honored by that. And just to read the acknowledgement just filled me up. That's what I'm here for.
That's what we're here for. I mean, each and every person has a little bit of that ability, and how you choose to send your light out into this world is absolutely just as important. We need every little pinpoint of light, and these animals need us to understand that they're going to be just fine, and they love us as much as we love them, and they're as connected. Don't believe anybody that tells you that an animal is less than, or that they don't feel, or they don't have a soul, or they don't cross over. It's all bunk. It's all bunk. because Rob and I just set right in. The first time we met, we were right in tune with all that. It's like Rob and I are sitting over here and goes, wait a minute, we beg to differ. We think they're actually more superior in that department because they don't have all of that bunk and all of that stuff that drives them down. And just like that couple, God bless them, that came up here from Florida and had all of that heaviness and left so light and happy. That's what our animals want for us. They want you to bring them the flowers and put it by their picture. They want you to adopt that next animal. They want you to love again, and they want you to be happy, and they will be the very first to meet you on the other side when you cross. I guarantee you Rob agrees with that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. My friend, this has been lovely. And I'm so glad to see you just going after your dreams. And like I said, everybody's moving and picking different new horizons and adventures. I mean, I probably know 20 people, right now off the top of my head that are doing this, and everybody's shifting. And I just wish you all the best. And,
Thank
so
you.
much, but you shot right past me. I don't know how that happened.
So So I mean, I apologize. I don't have my banners in my background, and
I'll take
not
you
dressed
anyway.
up because I've been living out of a suitcase for 2 months as we're moving between houses, and the house wasn't ready. So it's kind of crazy, but it's all good. I have to give a big shout out to my younger brother, who is just awesome, who is letting us stay with him and our 3 dogs with him for 2 months.
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Isn't that wonderful?
This is what love really is.
Yes.
I truly have the best brother in the world.
Isn't that great? And that's it. That's what, if you've got a friend or your tribe, and people, if your family isn't treating you this way, you've got a tribe, you've got those friends or whatever. And if you need to get up and you have the means to you feel like you want to get up and shift and you want to move near to where you're happy, or your tribe, or surround yourself with friends and love, if that's what you got to do at this point in your life, I highly recommend it. Because listen, living in the darkness and where people don't understand you and where you're not accepted, or you have to pretend, I don't think that's good for the soul. I think if you're here now, incarnated in this time, I think we chose to be here. We incarnated, not reincarnated, to come here to spread our light. And if you feel like that light is being stifled, or you're in a toxic environment or relationship, whatever, break free from that and just bloom and send that light out. And I'll tell you, I'll keep doing shows. Rob's going to keep doing shows and putting out wonderful books. Rob, the books that we can get, we want to get them directly from you. It's your website again, my friend.
They can get them from Amazon, because I'm not I don't publish them, but so just Amazon, type in Gutro, and I'm the only one with that weird name, and you'll find me. But my website is robgutro.com, or for those who can't spell Gutro, type in petspirits.com. It takes you the same place.
There you go. And you'll come on next time and tell us all about your mediums trips and some of the ghosts that you've met.
Yeah, I'd love to. And just a note, I have a note on my website that said I'm not taking pet spirit readings right now. I'm not booking them because I'm booked out a year. But, people can still email me, and I'll put you on the schedule anyway. Because I know that the grief that we deal with pet loss is important. And even if you have to wait a year, and that's what I'm doing right now, I'm booking June 2024.
Get your paw in the door.
Get your paw in the door, and it doesn't matter really how long it takes for you to get the reading, because it's going to bring you healing no matter when you get it. And
here's another a little tidbit. These little spirit suckers are so smart that if they can pull a T-shirt out of a drawer or out of a pile to give you love, if they can do these things, what do you think they're going to do with your reading? When you put it out there in the universe and you give Rob your permission to read that energy and his energy, or your pet's energy as well, you're putting that out in the universe, and you're allowing the universe and that spirit to use it when you need to hear it the most. So I guarantee, just when you think that you're not even thinking about it anymore, here will come your reading, and it'll be right on time when your consciousness can accept the information at its best. because that's the way this universe and spirit guides work. Isn't it true, Rob?
Absolutely.
I think
Yep.
it's wonderful. So good to
So
see you, my friend. So
You
good to
too.
see you happy and a new adventure. You got to write and let me know when you get into the house and you get all settled and everything, because big adventures wait for you there as well. I mean, gosh, the history surrounding you there, it's all brand. Oh, my goodness. There's at least 2-3 more books in that whole state that you're
So
going to. I mean,
I have 7 lined up over the next 7 years, by the way.
that's
So,
right, you do.
and just a quick note for people who live in New England. I will be in Rhode Island
Oh, you froze up on
August
me.
12th.
There you
doing
go. You're good.
lecture, Animal Rescue Rhode Island. And I'll be at the Massachusetts Paracon. I'll be at the Maine Paracon. I'm doing another rescue event for 3 rescues in New Hampshire and
Oh,
1
wonderful.
in Maine. So animal rescues, I love talking to people at animal rescues, bringing healing. And
It's
so
wonderful.
just check my website for the events and come meet me. I'd love to
And
see
it helps the animals too. And please, please, please listen to me, people. Stop with this thing of, I can't go through it again. I don't want to adopt again. If you knew how many adult cats, adult dogs are at your local pound, $50, fill out the application.
Yep.
Here's another idea. The elderly person on your street that has nobody goes to visit, see if they'll go down, give them a ride down there, help them adopt an adult cat. Why can't you volunteer if they can't do it themselves to go get the pet food, clean the litter box, help them out, do
Yeah.
whatever you need to do. Spread love, and love will come back and just absolutely come back to you. I promise, because that's how love works too, right, Rob? I love you, my friend.
You are the embodiment of love.
Oh
Thank
gosh.
you. I love you too.
It's been great to see you. On the way out tonight, I've got a little bit about animals, teaching you how to be a little more zen, raising your vibration. And Rob, we'll talk, honey, and we'll get you back on again real soon. I love you,
Sounds
my
great.
friend. Good
Love
night,
you too.
gatekeepers. Hang in there tomorrow night. Eric, Brian, Sir Bowden, Mr. Steve Stockton, and myself, and a little bit of Gettysburg. See you tomorrow night. Good night, Rob.